In the Emerald Isle, something unexplainable is happening. Tonight, prepare to witness the most frightening event in horror podcast history. A journey into the depths of horror history. First Class Horror presents the Class Horror Cast. Evil wears many masks, but pure horror wears only one. Support First Class Horror on Patreon for as little as $1. Can't get enough of the horror? Carve yourself a deal from official merchandise, only on Teespring. Join us on all social media at First Class Horror. We have such sights to show you.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Class Horror Cast. I'm your host Aaron, and in this week's episode I've got a fantastic surprise for you all. Recently I had the fantastic opportunity to guest on a show called the Plastic Fangs Podcast. This podcast is hosted by Rodney and Jon, both of whom are extremely knowledgeable about movies, and especially the horror genre. Their show has some fantastic content, from things like a Halloween 3 watch party commentary to an incredible interview with Kate Hodge, who has starred in movies such as the Texas Chainsaw 3. These guys have a unique dynamic to their show, built on the foundations of a long friendship with each other and their love for horror. Make sure and do yourself a huge favour and check the guys out now. They're just getting started, and I hope everyone enjoys this as much as we did. So guys, how are we doing?
Great.
Thanks for having us on, sir.
Yes. Wow, thank you. You're going to have to change the name of your show this week, though.
Okay.
Because you have us on, so it's going to be the No Class.
Oh, nice.
Because no, you have the class. You invited us, so you kind of messed up on that one.
Yes. The Yankees have invaded, and we're lowering the class.
Yes.
Yeah.
I will be the token ugly American in this episode.
Ditto. We're gonna use words like bigly and kofefe.
Delicious, like to have a cup of kofefe in the morning.
Yes.
In the description, I'll just give a breakdown.
Yeah, cool.
Okay, so I suppose first things first, where can people find you and the podcast?
Well, I'm Rodney Self. I run our Twitter, where you can actually reach out to us at Plastic Fangs Pod on Twitter.
Mm-hmm. And my name is John Ramsey. Hi, and I do the Facebook and Instagram, and they're both at Plastic Fangs Podcast. So there it is. Yeah, the Twitter is the one we don't know. I said before, I think there's someone else that took that name, clearly, because we don't. it's a cast, not podcast. Oh no, pod, not cast. So what are you gonna do?
Yes,
that happens a lot, actually. And as regards to the podcast, then podcast is everywhere: Spotify, iTunes.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
We're initially on Anchor, and that just shotguns it onto every platform for us. So it's pretty good. Yeah. It's fun.
Well, you can't you can't find us on Parler.
Really?
Yeah. No. In fact, I believe they've been shut down. So.
So I've heard.
Oh, shucks.
Yeah. Millions of listeners on Parler for the Plastic Fangs podcast.
Yeah, that's what happened to me too.
You were a big hit. I know,
right? Next big thing. And new episodes every week.
We try.
Yeah, if I'm not too tired, because it's usually me. I'm like, hey, I gotta let me take a break this week. Okay, all right, but it's usually weekly. Worst case, 3 times a month, so it's not too bad.
We try. We definitely try. I mean, and there are sometimes when we get a wild hair and we're like, all right, yeah, we're busting out, a weekly episode every Monday. But we have day jobs and lives. Well, I have a life.
I don't. I just have a day job.
So we try, and I mean, gosh, sometimes, especially like during COVID and everything going on.
Oh, this is my socializing when we do the pod. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, if it makes you feel any better, currently I don't have a day job or a life. So.
Oh man.
Well,
figure.
Not true. Not true. You interview awesome people.
You know what? I'd actually prefer to be doing this. All I need to do now is come up with the formula for making this the day job.
Right. But again, you're slumming with us right now. So,
right.
Yes.
I couldn't have better company.
Well, we appreciate that. I mean, we're no Eduardo Sanchez, but we are. We'll try. We will definitely try.
A close second.
Yes.
So I suppose my first question for both you guys, whoever wants to go first, would be: when did your love for horror movies and that kind of stuff start? Did it start with horror, or did it kind of segue from movies into that?
I guess I'll go first. Well, for me, it probably wasn't until middle school, because ever since I can remember, everything scared me growing up. I think one of the earliest memories I have of a horror movie might be from Carrie, and I think my mom was watching it. It was maybe on HBO, maybe 1979, or maybe 80. Because when did Carrie come out? Like 76 or something like that. I know it was before Saturday Night Fever, because Travolta hadn't blown up yet. But I remember like, oh, this is like a high school movie as a kid. And then all the crazy stuff happened at the prom. And I remember having like a vivid memory of that scared me. And I was like, oh, no. I just remember like the sounds and the music that De Palma did in that. But yes, it spazzed me out. So I was always afraid of horror movies growing up. I'd probably watch like old black and white horror movies. But it probably wasn't until like middle school when I started kind of like, oh, this is kind of like, I like, because I watched Tales from the Crypt on HBO. And I could get through those. Some were like cheesy. Some were like, oh, that's really good. But honestly, we kind of talked about this because you'd asked off mic what was like my favorite horror movie, and Evil Dead 2. I think that's where like my love my love for horror really like kicked into gear. And after that, I was like, oh well. I think through high school, I kind of collected like the Romero like VHSs, like Dawn of the Dead. I could never find Day, but it was out there. But I knew like Night of the Living Dead and Dawn, and then. Yeah, it probably didn't kick in and like really hardcore like it is now till probably like my late 20s, early 30s. So, and I'm 43 now. So yeah, that's where I was like, yeah, this is it. this is my love now for horror.
And John, John, Carrie was 1976, sir.
Okay, so then because it had to have been like, so it must have been like 80 or 81. I remember I was young. I was born in 77. So
I think Travolta was a sweat hog then, right?
He was, but he hadn't like exploded until like with Saturday Night Fever. That's where he was just,
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, with me, when you had come on our show, we kind of had the same conversation. I remember the video store having a life-size cutout of Freddy Krueger that scared me half to death. And it was Freddy from part 2, really, and really the box art for Freddy's Revenge. Of course, now in hindsight, looking back at Nightmare 2, it's kind of you kind of see it for what it is now. But I mean, just his makeup and everything, it was so terrifying. And my grandfather would rent them from the video store. And so one time I actually came downstairs where he would watch the movies and stuff. And it was Nightmare 3. And it's the scene where Freddy comes out of the TV. And I'm like, fucking, I'm out of here. just, I mean, those kind of things would scare me, the thought of Jason and all of that, very scary. So eventually, John and I actually met in middle school. Mm-hmm. And so John was talking about like Tales from the Crypt, and we would watch an episode of Tales from the Crypt, and we talk about it. We had our other friends. We talk, hey, did you see that episode of Tales from the Crypt last night? And kind of just talk about it. We had another friend by the name of Ski who was like way, way more into everything.
Yeah.
And so he would kind of be that catalyst. But you go from Tales from the Crypt to Creepshow, the movie. You get Twilight Zone, the movie, which an amazing, film where it's, I had talked about it on our show at one point. I'd kind of dubbed something called Amblin Horror, which is, kind of Spielbergian horror, like, Poltergeist. It wasn't directed by Spielberg. It wasn't, no matter how much you don't think.
The rumors.
Right. But just kind of that horror crossover, that gets you that crossover appeal. So, Creepshow, the movie, Twilight Zone, you get into Creepshow 2, you start getting into other anthologies, and then kind of more and more, it's like getting into a swimming pool that's very cold, and you dip your toe in the water, and then slowly but surely you get to the point where you're brave enough to rent Faces of Death, and you
acclimate to the horror.
Exactly. You start enjoying that fear, that eventually it becomes like a rush. Yeah, it's something that you keep wanting. And with each movie you watch, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, got through that, Exorcist, The Shining, you kind of go through all of these movies and go watch all these movies that people are like, that movie will terrify you and things like that. And you get to the point where it's like Patrick Swayze in Point Break, man, you're chasing that wave, and so that really just kind of easing my way into it. Yeah, but just looking back and remembering those cardboard cutouts of Freddy Krueger, the box art of the VHSs. I would run past the horror section sometimes when I was really little, because, just seeing one image for a second, it would stay with me the rest of the night. So it's about conquering to me, and ultimately that's why I love it. I want to be scared more.
Yeah, I definitely feel that. I remember going to the video store, and I would purposely go to the horror section, but I remember having this like really weird, like uneasy kind of butterflies feeling, where I would look at the covers, but like never really get too close, and I would always kind of make sure that I had a line of sight to somebody else, just to make sure. And I know it was probably just because I was a kid, but it always felt like I would walk into the video store and you had all your video games and whatever movies and action movies, and everything seemed happy, and there was music playing and people were being served at the counter. And then I would walk to the back of the store and everything would get quieter and quieter, and there was less people. And I was like, isn't it weird that this horror section is like this?
You hear wolves.
Yeah, like I remember being convinced that there was like no music and the lights just seemed that little bit darker, and where are all the people gone?
Oh yeah.
And I would every week I would do it.
It's like
go ahead, Pat.
No, it's like a test of strength, to see how far you can kind of push yourself.
I was even in my 20s when you just said that, like, I remember at the Breezewood video store going to the horror section. It was like almost like a cubicle with 3 walls, and I was like, I'm not in a room, but it feels like it's its own little thing over here. Yeah. I never thought of it like that. Yeah.
That only came into my mind just as you guys were talking. I was just thinking about that because I watched the last Blockbuster documentary.
Oh yeah,
a couple of nights ago. Have you guys seen that?
I still haven't.
Yeah.
I need to.
It's absolutely amazing. And watching it, and, and even just talking about it, with other people, talking about these experiences at the video store. That's what the video store was. Mm-hmm. It was definitely an experience. You got to go and physically touch things. There was smells. There were other people. There was, if they didn't have the movie that you wanted right away, it was the ability to look for something that you could find. The last Blockbuster even talked about the sound of the box opening, mm-hmm. And closing, and just all of those sensory feelings that they really do take you back. And that's why I would love to just go and walk around a video store somewhere. I mean, just to kind of get a little bit of that feeling back.
Yeah, I mean, it just from looking at the documentary and then I had looked online and like people were talking about how great streaming is, and it is in its own way great, I guess, that you've got nearly everything at your fingertips. But for me, that whole process of going out, the experience of being somewhere, and then it's like a physical thing, like you said, and you look at the artwork and you would kind of make decisions mm-hmm. based off of the artwork mostly. You might read mm-hmm. the back maybe, but just being able to do that, and I think streaming doesn't really have that. I don't care how mm-hmm. cool you make the artwork or the thumbnails and stuff. I don't think it's ever going to have that same feeling.
And I don't know if you've noticed this, but Netflix or Hulu or what have you, they've changed, the artwork. Like 1 month a movie will have a certain poster, and then the next month it'll like change up to just a random scene of the film or what have you. I think that they try to do those things to get you to watch them again, maybe, to kind of fool you into thinking, oh, you didn't watch Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull last month, so we're going to change up the artwork and you're going to watch it now. But you're right. It doesn't have that effect. There were VHS box covers that would have, 3D effects, that some of them would have lights on them, like little lights. You could push the button and they could be interactive.
Well, was that the Dead Pit? The one with the glowing eyes, yeah. And the Frankenhooker one. You mm-hmm. hit the button and she would yell, "Want a date?" that always reminded me of the video store. Those go for so much on eBay now. It's insane if you can find them. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd imagine. And like I feel like that's like it's slipping away. And now Family Video announced that they're closing or completely closed.
Yeah, I think the website is the only thing that's still kicking. Everything else is finito, unfortunately. And we don't even have one near us, But it's like it's just one more death of it, which sucks.
Do you guys have anywhere like that near you?
We had looked up online in Virginia here, because we live in Virginia. There's one. There is one in town, but I think we looked at the times. It's only open 3 or 4 hours on a Friday.
It's open for 3 hours on a Friday. It's like they know. They know for sure when people are looking like to rent a movie.
But it's VHS. It's like this experiment of like just printing VHSs. And that's yeah. I went in there like trying to buy VHS. They're like, oh, well, you can only rent out 2. I went 2. I want to buy 3, and they went, oh, we don't sell these. I went, oh, and then I walked out. But I think there's at least like 3 others that are in the state that I know of. Hold on, I think
there's one that is it's a movie store / tanning salon, so you can get a suntan. I don't know how popular suntans are in Ireland, but
what's that?
suntan. But there are definitely there are a few. I think there's a couple up right outside of DC. There are a few in areas where they're rural and don't have access to quality internet. But I mean, believe me, the numbers are definitely shrinking. That's for sure.
Yeah. Like the heyday here in our town, how many do you think there might have been, Rodney? Like the most at one point, right. Like 20,
well, let's 25. Run them down. So John still lives in Fredericksburg, Virginia. Yeah. I actually live just outside of Charlottesville, Virginia. At one time in our town growing up, there would be, there were like 4 movie clubs, right?
Yeah.
Yep. There were 2 Hollywood videos.
Yeah.
There were at least 6 blockbusters.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, 6 blockbusters around. There was a mom and pop shop called Video Joe's.
Yeah.
Shoot, I'm 7-Eleven even rented.
I remember getting the Transformers movie from there. Yeah. Yeah. But in Movie Gallery, that had I think there's like 3 or 4 of those. I remember one time it was right after, the summer after Scream. Scream had came out in December, and then the VHS came out like, I guess, months later, going into like spring or summer. And I remember they had a contest at a movie gallery right down the street from my house. It was like 10 trivia questions about the movie, and my brother and I filled it out. We're like, oh yeah. And so we turned it in, and then we came back. We're like, hey, so did we win? They're like, what are you talking about? No one participated. We're the only ones who filled out the trivia for it. And I think when they gave us like a small bag of popcorn, I was like, well, this was but I was like, we got them all right though.
I thought you were going to say something cool, like they gave you a costume or some tapes.
Oh,
or
no.
Some promo stuff.
They did. They went, oh, we're still doing that? Oh, yeah, no one. You guys turned it. They just threw ours away. They were like, some of the kids came like, well, here, have some popcorn. But we were like, yeah, free. They could have poured out their coffee and handed me their cup. Free, yeah.
just talking about all that stuff, and like I don't know if it will never come back the way it was, obviously, but I do think at some point you'll probably have, I know I can't remember his name now to give him a shout out, but there's a guy in Australia who opened his own video store just because they don't have any around there. And now I don't know how well it's doing. I think it's a really small property, but he rents out old video games and tapes and whatever.
Nice.
I know who you're talking about. Yeah, he has like tons of stuff. Yeah. I don't know his name off. Yeah. But I know what you're talking about. Yeah, he's like an avid collector of old video games and then movies, and you're like, whoa, this kid. Yeah, the dude has a ton of stuff. Yeah.
And I kind of want to do not something similar in the form of a store, but I would love to, the room I'm in currently, I would love to shelve the walls and have, for anybody who doesn't know, so it's something similar to, I wish we could have a screenshot of what's behind you right now.
John. Yeah.
John, to quote the Penguin from Batman Returns, my babies.
Yes. John has a very extensive collection, and like you said, Aaron, it's probably never going to come back to the point that it was. The demand just isn't there. However, what I've found with the resurgence of vinyl records, there have been record shops. Vinyl records now are outselling CDs and online sales to an extent. So vinyl has become something that people have come back to now. VHS, if you were to open up a store and only rent out vintage stuff, eventually it's going to be like, someone's going to hold on to it,
Yeah.
Turn around and sell it on eBay or something like that. What I have seen is there's been more people when you talk about wanting to shelve your room and how John kind of has shelves of movies and stuff.
Yeah.
There are people that have actually started creating video stores like in their basement. There is a YouTuber, Cinemassacre, James Rolfe. Sorry, that's an inside.
I was literally just looking him up right now.
Look at that. So if you listen to the Plastic Fangs podcast show, some of our earlier episodes, a little bit of contention between me and James Rolfe that he is not even remotely aware of that there is. But
I think the guy's aces. You're like, he don't know nothing. I'm like, bullshit. Dude, well learned, well read.
But he created a video store, and then of course does the shops, and then of course created a video game store for some of his shows and stuff like that. But I've seen in Facebook groups and stuff like that, people will get those shelves kind of like you would find at a Blockbuster or at a video store, and they actually shelve the movies like another group that does it online, Red Letter Media. Have you ever watched Mr. Plinkett's reviews and stuff? They too kind of have a little bit of a setup. In fact, their thing is kind of the two guys that talk have a VCR repair shop. And they're always talking about movies because no one but this Mr. Plinkett guy is getting their VCR fixed or whatever. So I think as IKEA has some pretty inexpensive shelving and things like that. I think people really do try, just like they try to recreate the movies at home, with their big screen TVs or their projectors and their sound systems. And they have the chairs that are kind of like, in fact, at some movie theaters, they try to duplicate the chairs you have at home. Because the movies want you to feel like you're kind of at home. And, but so I think that for nostalgia purposes, it would be awesome to go and visit. And I think so many people want that nostalgia back so much that they're going to invest and recreate it on their own.
Yeah, I had actually seen recently as well. I think that last Blockbuster had, I'm not sure if this is 100%, but had they Airbnb'd the store?
What?
I heard about that like months ago, that you can sleep overnight at a I guess it was the last Blockbuster, so maybe they'd have that in the back. I guess
they have, like, from the pictures I seen, they have a section of the store, and it looks exactly like your probably 80s 90s sitting room.
Oh shit, that's awesome.
Yeah, with the big TV and stuff. And then you have they have, I think, all the video game consoles, and then Laserdisc player, VHS player, DVD player, Blu-ray player, whatever. Which I think
that's awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
I wonder how much that, man.
Yeah, I know. I meant to look it up and write it down, but I forgot.
And that just goes to show you, nostalgia is a moneymaker. There are some Taco Bells that never redesigned or re-updated their look ever since the last time that they ever remodeled was like around when Demolition Man came out. So it's got like the purple and stuff like that. And so there are people that actually go to those Taco Bells. And I think it's a lot like when I was growing up, there was a McDonald's that was built like the 1950s McDonald's, and again, I think it's that nostalgia that people want to go back and rekindle, get that feeling again. Like going to the drive-in.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's across the board as well. Even for merchandise and stuff, I look at a lot of these companies now that bring out T-shirts or sweatshirts and stuff, and a lot of times the designs have the old school, like 80s looking artwork on the front, and like they always sell out. It's always like pre-orders only, and like it's like and especially for me over here because of the time differences. Normally they drop these things and it's like 4 a.m. And like I don't wake up and like they're completely
That
sold
sucks.
out, and I try and message the guys and be like, hey, is there any way I can? And they're like, no, dude, it's not possible.
It's kind of like 80s tees, man. But those t-shirts are like, they're like $60 a t-shirt.
Yep.
You know?
I remember when those were way cheaper years ago. Yeah. This is kind of like apropos of nothing, but I meant to ask you this the other time, Aaron. Did you pre-order the Fright Rags lunchbox?
I didn't.
The Halloween? You did?
I didn't.
Oh, nuts. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to bring up a sore subject because I was like, did you get it? Never mind. Never mind. Forget what you know what? I never asked.
And I also, so I missed out on that. And I also missed out on when they released those, the figures a while back.
The Halloween figures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, like the in-action ones?
Yeah.
Mhm.
I missed that too.
Oh.
And I always see people post on Instagram about them. I'm like, fucker.
They're like, I bought 5 packs of these figures.
Yeah. And you can get them now for $150 each.
I bought so many, I turned it into a bed. I sleep on them.
Right.
Yeah, I've seen pages do giveaways and stuff, and I'm like, there's no point because there's like 4,000 comments. I'm like, yeah, this is pointless.
And that's why they do the giveaway.
Yeah, it works. It works. I considered that a couple of times. Buy something cool and try and do something like that. Do you guys have, so would you say you have something in your collection, or, okay, I guess this is a multiple part question. Is there something that you currently have that you would say is like top of your list? Like, this is like my prized possession. Is there something, so then question 2 would be, is there something that you had in the past that you no longer have that you long to get back?
Oh.
And is there something that's just like a holy grail for you? If it's not one of those 2 things that you already...
Right. That's a good question. That's a very multi-layered, great question, sir. Yeah, that's a hard one because I think back about it because I mean, how many times? I've gone through relationships and lost things in the quote unquote divorce. So. Yeah. So I mean, things have, or like when you're a kid, where'd that one toy go? It just disappeared along with everything else. I don't know if because I think my biggest thing has been collecting like DVDs and before that VHS and now again VHS again. I don't know if this is probably. I'm happy I found this, and actually, I was wondering, if this guy was ever going to be asked. Right here is a VHS
Filmhouse Fever.
Filmhouse Fever. This is okay. Remember Terror in the Aisles with was it Donald Pleasance was the host of it? It was a movie talking about all these other movies in the 80s. A lot of people would go to the like a video store, see Terror in the Aisles, and they had all the names of the movies that they talk about.
Right,
and they go, well, I don't know what to see, and they look at that. Well, this is a ripoff of that. I believe it's either a New York or New Jersey ripoff. But the kicker of this is it stars I forgot the guy. He's from Sons of Anarchy. He played Bobby. What's that actor's name?
Yeah, he was in Rob Zombie's Halloween too, I think.
I believe so. Hold on. The actor, this is when he's way younger. Oh, yeah. Mark Boone Jr. And Steve Buscemi. They're sitting in a movie theater together. It looks like a shot on video, and they're bothering people and talking about the movies that are coming up. And so, let me see if on the back here. I still haven't popped it in. Yeah, I guess 2000 Maniacs. They just like, it's almost like Mystery Science Theater before Mystery Science Theater, and it was just a way to like, I guess, showcase certain movies. But yeah, like that was like, I was like, wow, I found it. That's not to say a holy grail, but I was happy I found this because this is not on DVD, and I couldn't find anywhere to stream it. So
wow, I didn't even recognize Mark Boone Jr.
Yeah,
wow.
He's unrecognizable because he's younger and he's thinner, and you're like, who is that? Oh, wow. That's the guy. But for collectible, I don't know. I'm looking around. I'm looking around. I'm like, I don't know.
So what was the question again? The question was something that you currently have that's your prized.
Yeah. Okay. So, so we'll break it down. So the first one is something that you just in your collection or that you own. It can be anything: a poster, a signature, whatever.
So John, that thing you have is the thing you like now, right?
It's see again. It's like ask me what's my favorite movie. There's too many. It's like I'm glad I have that. You know, it's one of those things.
Now, what's a holy grail though? What's something what's something that you had that you lost or got rid of or lost that you're like, man, I want that back?
I don't know, dude, because I don't think I got it. I don't think I ever got it because I'm like, there's nothing I can think of that's like, oh man, I wish I still had that because I'm like, stuff has been sold or just somehow lost or thrown away over the years. So yeah, I don't think I have that. I don't know. I always wanted to be like a big collector, but then I was like, man, that stuff is expensive, you know. And then I'm like, ooh, I had a lot of debt coming out of high school because I went right into college, and then after that, I was like, I got to pay this back. So I remember going to like conventions, and I still have like stuff signed and on the walls. I got a Joe Bob, him and Honey. That's one of my favorites, but I'm like, I'm glad I have that. Sid Haig autograph, you know, with a picture with him in it, and me and Rodney and a few of our friends that signed. So I mean,
he was in costume as Captain Spaulding.
That's amazing.
So so like things like that, I'm like I think for me it's more of like the experience, and maybe that can be imbued into like an object. Like oh, I remember that time. I don't know if I necessarily have that thing that brings me joy. It's what the memory that comes with it.
There you go.
What do you have, sir?
I think probably the things that I have now that I hold more dearly is like the Sid Haig picture that I had him sign. Candyman, his autograph, Michael Madsen, those are kind of like the Blockbuster, where it conjures up, just looking at it on the wall, it takes me back to, such a great time, so I'd say that, and Joe Bob, I have an autographed picture of him, and so it's a poster. It's kind of like him, but a skull is kind of superimposed over it, and so those are probably my most prized possessions. Something that I once had that I wish I could get back was my VHS collection. I had the Screams, I had the variant covers or exclusive covers. I had so many great movies, all the Nightmare on Elm Streets on VHS, all the Friday the 13th, all of them. So many great things that I had on VHS that I know I could go out and get them, order them off eBay or what have you. But I wish I had never gotten rid of them. And there's something to be said that, we live in a society where where it is on demand. We had talked about how, like Netflix and stuff like that is on demand, but there's something about, like, say, going to a thrift shop, right? And just coming across that movie you've been looking for, or that comic you've been looking for, that thing you've been looking for.
Or like how Aaron said, you see a cover, you're like, I don't know what that is, but I'm enticed.
Absolutely. Or it's something that you've seen and it's got a completely different cover than you never even knew existed. Now, as far as something that I would want now, that would be like a holy grail to me. It's kind of tough. Good question, but it's a
a hard question. It's like what's the meaning of life, sir?
I think, all right, if I could put it all into one, my holy grail would be to have the game systems and the horror movie games, including like Texas Chainsaw Massacre on Atari 2600 with a working Atari 2600. A Nintendo Entertainment System with Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th. Right, even the Halloween Atari game, right?
Oh, there was one. Yeah,
there was one. Yeah, and getting a Dreamcast for the Evil Dead game that was on that. And,
oh, well, no, they actually had that for PlayStation 1. I actually have all those. I have all the Evil Dead games from PlayStation 1 and beyond.
Right.
And people hated that first one. I played it and I beat it. I love that game.
So next time I come to your house, I might have some sticky fingers.
You have to find it. Good luck with the collection.
That's right.
There is one thing. Let me see if I can show you on the camera here. See that big VHS?
I want one of those so bad.
Have you? So you've seen those online?
Yep.
Yeah, I got that right before I moved into here, or actually right when I moved into this apartment, and I was like, yeah, that was like over $100, but it was worth it.
Yep. And it's like close to $2, I think, for me.
Oh God, yeah, I totally forgot because of the exchange. Oh yeah. Lord, oh man,
I want it so bad.
It's good. That is not to say it was coveted, but I'm like, yeah, I'm glad I have that art. It's just awesome. It's just cool. It does nothing. It collects dust, but it's great.
It's funny. I find that a lot of people that are interested in the same things we are, if you ask them about something they would either like to start collecting again or wish they never got rid of, VHS seems to be in the top 2 nearly always, which is crazy. Like I've even just been like the last couple of weeks flicking through eBay and stuff, and like I've been considering it, but the money is just so crazy to go back and buy those collections.
What are you on? Meaning, like, I know in the States it's NTSC, right? It was like and then in the UK it's on PAL.
Yeah.
Because of so like what would you, if you're gonna, the reason why I asked this too, because if I come across something, be like, oh hey, I can send that to them, but if it's the wrong format, it won't work on your system.
That's true, but I'm one of those psychos who will just buy the things anyway.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was just when I was looking at some of your stuff, and I don't know whether this was if it was something that was done on purpose or it was just the way it was, but what do you call the covers for those movies? Like the slipcase or whatever?
Oh, yeah, the slipcover. Yeah.
Because
almost like a book, the slipcover.
Yeah, because over here, I don't ever remember them coming like that. We always got the clamshell.
Oh, yeah. See,
I don't think I've ever seen one of those in a video store here ever.
Oh.
Yeah,
well,
and they look so much more badass as well.
Mm-hmm.
I just looking at like the few that I did eventually find that we didn't try out, and like they have that old clamshell look, and I'm like, they just don't look as nice though.
Really? And see, that's the thing, is that I kind of prefer the clamshell, but those are just your basic cardboard.
Yeah, it's just like a cardboard.
Yeah, because like you just go to when I was buying VHS, I go to like an FYE or whatever, like a Best Buy, and it's wrapped in plastic and it's just a slip cover. That was it. I guess they had that at the video stores, so it was like. So people dropped, it didn't break. It was almost like a cushion, if you will, a safeguard. So for the tape. So that's the only reason why. And plus, then you could put like, this is our store on it. You can advertise it like that.
And video stores obviously wanted to protect their investment. There was a video store, one of the very first I remember. It was called Errol's Video.
Oh, shit, I have one, by the way.
And they rented out. You could actually rent a VCR at the time. Now, what they did with their tapes, because at the beginning of that whole thing, there was VHS and Betamax, and they rented both. You could rent a Beta or you could rent VHS. And Errol's would have this unusually large box that had like foam inside of it. So yeah, if it got dropped or whatever.
I mean, I know this is all show and tell. My bad. I mean, no one at home can see this. Here's one with the slip cover. Boom. Here's one that you would see. It's got the cushion in it.
This looks like
Blockbuster. Here is the Errol's box. Look how big this thing is.
Wow.
You could fit it looks like a pizza, like a personal pizza could fit inside of it.
Yeah.
You need to, so anyone who's listening to this, go to Plastic Fangs Podcast on Instagram, and you're going to see 3 photographs there in swipe form of the 3 things. Because you need to see that. I don't know if anybody from over here on this side would have ever seen one of those.
Look how big that thing. I mean, you could beat somebody with this. This thing is heavy duty as hell. E.T. FYI.
Those boxes were so big that when you walked into the store, they'd give you a plastic bag to carry them in, because they knew if you're going to rent 3, good luck. They knew that you would drop them.
I remember walking around as a kid because my parents would be like, "Here, hold this," because these things are huge. No one wants to carry this around the store, but you're like, "Yeah, it's a movie." I guess that was because Errol's came out in the early '80s. So how much were tapes back then? They would purchase a piece over 100.
Over 100 a piece, yeah.
So that was their insurance policy. Those boxes.
That's crazy. Can you remember how much those things cost?
If you were to buy,
or could you buy back then?
Back then, I mean, you could, but you're spending over $100 per tape.
Wow.
Because I remember, they'd always hit you with that. If you lose it, you're gonna, this. They scared you. They put the fear of God into you. So bring that tape back. But yeah, I think the first time I ever bought a VHS was probably, I think it was Wayne's World had came out on VHS, and it was either $13.99 or $14.99. It was really really affordable, and I was like, "That's how movies can." That's doable. That's cheap.
The first Batman as well.
Yeah, that was huge. That was so bad. That was $19.99. I remember they had commercials online. Order now, and you can get on VHS and this and that, all this extra stuff. Yeah, they had infomercials for that. Yeah.
Right. Well, it was Batman '89.
Yes.
Yeah, and what that actually was I think the first VHS, because you started seeing companies starting to sell VHS for a lot cheaper. I mean, shoot. I remember there was a store called Suncoast. Did they have Suncoast out in your neck of the woods? No, it was owned by Sam Goody, which was music. They sold CDs and stuff like that. But Suncoast, they would have. I mean, you would go in and you'd browse to be able to look. I mean, and I remember there would be VHSs in there for $100.
Yeah.
But then there would be Batman '89 was, $20 or $25 or what have you. But then they'd have your rare ones that were $100, where that movie studio's we're not lowering our price for anything, So it was really weird. In fact, I was doing a little bit of research, and Errol's actually started in the 60s. They would fix electronics, the television repairman and stuff like that. Of course, now you don't have a television repairman. You just go out and you buy a brand new TV. Yeah. But it started video rentals in 1980, and 85, they were one of the largest until Blockbuster bought them in 1990.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
See, I wonder what happened to ours, because I was like, where'd it go? It just went away.
Well, Blockbuster purchased it. So it's one of those things where kind of like what we're seeing now, right? Movie studios kind of wanting to make that money, and we're like, you know what? If you're not going to go into the theater and you're going to watch it home, you're going to fucking pay for it, because you're going to have 15 people over all just to watch this movie, right? That was the thought.
Yeah,
that they would actually think of how many people
making a super spreader party.
Well, I mean, but not now. But think about that.
Oh, right, my bad.
Right, if someone was rich enough to have a VCR, and that's really weird to say, right? If someone was,
you're right, back in the day, yeah.
Right, and one of those big screen TVs, that with the big bulbs on it, and someone would I remember, people would have people over just for that. So the movie company is like, all right, so let's say 10 people gather to watch this. How are we going to get our money? Mm-hmm. So it's really, but now it's like they're putting Wonder Woman out on HBO Max. I just saw a friggin' movie, a commercial for a movie that's got Jared Leto, Denzel Washington, and
Rami Malek.
Yeah, Rami Malek. And it's coming to HBO Max at the end of January. So it's like, we can say all we want. Oh, we're man, I'm going to fire it up on HBO Max and watch it for free. And I'm doing air quotes here, but it's but you're paying ultimately for that subscription.
Yeah. It's I guess in one sense it's kind of cool to see different people. I don't know if you'd call it innovate, but open up those small stores and those little places where you can go and do that. But it's a pity there's so few and far between. I know we're never going to go back to like chain stores or anything like that, but just from watching that Blockbuster documentary, it just reminded me of how huge that business was. And like, I didn't really think about it so much over the last couple of years, but like, to think that is no longer a thing. Like, at one point that was nearly the only thing in a way. Like I don't think I have ever spoken to somebody who, when you mention going and renting tapes or something like that, they're like, oh yeah. Like, everybody has some form of experience, regardless of what movie you liked, can remember that experience with that. And it's kind of bizarre when you watch that documentary to think that it went from this thing that had 9,000 stores, just Blockbuster, that's excluding any other companies,
right,
to basically having, I mean, I would imagine throughout the world now, I don't even know, do we have 9,000 in the entire world right now?
I don't know.
Is there 1,000 video stores in the world right now?
I'd say under 1,000. Over, definitely not. That just doesn't sound right. But I would probably say on planet Earth, I would go, I'll go up to 1,000. But again, that's few and far in between where they're located, I'm sure. Because Virginia has what, 4 or 5 that we know of. Yeah.
Well, in the U.S. of A, as of 2017. There were 15,300 video stores.
Oh, that's okay. That's way more than I expected. But that's also under.
That's also 2017. So
things could have happened in the last 3 years. Yeah,
exactly, including the pandemic. I mean, I'm sure that included the Alaska Blockbusters that closed.
Yeah, you're right.
As well. But it was an experience, and then that's the thing, is that I can't tell you specifically all of the movies that I ever rented or whatever, but I could tell you about the numerous times and experiences I had it going to Blockbuster, whether it would be going into a Blockbuster where there was the jerk working behind the counter who would kind of passively aggressively make comments about the movies that you're renting, going up there and them being like, oh, you've got so much in late fees. And you're like, but my mom only gave me $20. So I had to put back movies. And,
What do you mean I can't watch Hot Shots too?
Exactly. It really is. It's about the experience. And I think that's why before the pandemic, why movie theaters were starting to suffer, because your basic movie going experience was abysmal. If you went to a chain, you would go, if you wanted to go on release night, forget about it. One, it could be sold out. Two, if you live in a big city, you're fighting other cars and other people. The outrageous prices for, a family of four going to a movie theater on a night, including tickets. It's over $100. It gets costly and stuff like that. And it's, but you go to a place like Alamo Drafthouse where you're going to have experience that you remember, and it's worth paying for. And I think video stores gave those, we loved the movies and everything, but really it wasn't about that. It was about going and walking around and sometimes talking with your friends or, finding something new, and instead of, just scrolling through all of the Netflix thumbnails and stuff.
Yeah.
What am I going to watch? What am I going to watch? You took a chance. You would roll the dice, and sometimes you would lose.
More times than others, I think.
Right.
And I kind of like that. And I know things like Netflix try and do that. They have that option to pick something for me or whatever.
Oh, Jesus.
And I'm just I don't think I've ever used it, but I've seen it pop up a couple of times on the TV, and I'm like, no, that's not for me. But it is true though. And I wish I could go back to, like you said, those times where you would make a decision on maybe 2 or 3 movies, and you kind of have to stick with that decision now because I've rented them and I'm bringing them home and I physically have it. I get this really weird choice paralysis with the fact that I have Amazon Prime, Shudder, Netflix, all these different things. And I find that I never use any of them for the most part. For the amount of subscriptions that I have and own every month, versus the amount of movies and things I actually watch.
Yeah.
Is just not. And I think they prey on that. They make it an affordable price. And you sign up for it and just kind of go, nah, whatever. I can't be bothered to cancel, but I also can't be bothered to actually use the thing I'm paying for. So I'm just going to leave it there and just let it passively.
See, that's why I try to watch something I've seen before, but before I go to bed, I'll just put on again, I think I talked about this on our show a few weeks ago. I love Star Trek. I'll just put some Next Generation on because I'm getting. Hey man, it's a fantastic show. The new stuff, not so much. The old stuff, fantastic. So I'll just put that on. So not because I need to make get my money's worth, but I'm oh yeah, they have a lot of old stuff that I love, but that is the other side, the flip side of streaming, where you're oh, it's a lot more convenient. But again, yeah, to the old stuff, it's I'm just putting on something that'll help me go to sleep compared to standing up, putting a tape in, and all this other stuff or disc. Yeah,
I'll go through spurts where. I know I'm paying money for these streaming channels and stuff like that, but the last thing I watched, I think on Shudder, was the Joe Bob special. No, I'm sorry, the Creep Show Christmas special. But it's not. I don't go to Shudder every day. Same with Hulu or Amazon Prime. I go through these spurts where it could be 2 months and I haven't even opened up Amazon Prime. And
that thing has to update? Oh, right.
It's why is it? I hit the Roku and it's it's refreshing because it has to update and everything. But I had actually seen that, with Shudder, they just announced that they're going to have 11 films over 11 weeks, premiere new movies, right? And so I think all these streaming services, they want you to keep coming back, They'll bring you in with the big show, like Disney Plus will have, The Mandalorian, and, you're watching The Mandalorian and stuff like that. And then after that, it's kind of someone else, Netflix will grab your attention with that chick that plays the chess and does the drugs.
Queen's Gambit.
Yes. Have you? I know this is mostly horror, but have you seen Queen's Gambit at all, Aaron?
I haven't.
Oh, okay. Well,
I haven't seen it either. I heard it's good. I hear good things.
She plays chess and does drugs, so take that with what you will. But it's like you kind of get pulled in kind of different directions, right? And everyone wants your eyes and everything. And so I think with that, at the video store, you kind of were in charge of your fate. Now you're at the mercy of the streaming company. So it's...
Yeah, it's true. And just when you said about going to the movies and if you go to a chain and stuff like that, I just thought of a story. I was like super hyped to see Halloween 2018.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I mean, like super, super hyped for like probably 12, 18 months, like nonstop thinking about it. I was like, I can't wait. I can't wait. We get tickets for opening night. And of course, at the time in our town, we only had one chain movie theater, and that was it. So I had no choice. I need to pick that one.
Wow.
We get the tickets for opening night, and I get there, and we get our seats, and everything seems it's busy, which sometimes kind of pisses me off. I hate when it's like overly busy because I feel like sometimes it like kills the experience for me. But I'm like, no, it'll be fine. It's a horror movie, whatever. And there's three. So like at this point, I think all the seats, nearly every seat is full, and we're getting to the time where the trailers and stuff are starting to play. And I'm there with two friends, and I think it's 6 seats in the center aisle, and so there's me in the middle, and then 2 guys to my right, and then I have 3 seats empty to my left. And I'm like, just please, don't let it be teenagers. Don't let it be someone who actually wants to watch this movie.
Right.
And then around the corner, I see 3, 1 older and 2 teenage travelers.
Oh no!
Like Irish gypsy travelers.
Oh no!
And I'm going to go on record and say this: they are the worst people on the planet.
Oh my god!
Yep, that's just the opinion of me. That has nothing to do with the Plastic Fangs podcast. That's just me. So they decide to sit down beside me and just have their phones out for the entire thing. They're like taking calls. They're like making loads of noise, talking like just like we're talking right now, like having full blown conversations in the middle of the movie. And I couldn't help myself, so I just started to look out and wait for one of them to look at me, and they were like, "You okay?" And I was like, "Are you okay?" Like, what do you mean? And I was like, "Well, we're at the movies, so you've kind of got to be quiet and put your phones and stuff away." And one of them said something, I can't remember, she made some remark like "fuck you" or something like that. So we go out to the front, and I tell the guy, and he's like, and I was like, just to let you know what you're going into, it's travelers, so I don't know whether you need to bring like body armor or something. So he's like, "Oh no, please." So he comes in and he says it to them, and they basically just went, "Nope." He's like, "You're going to have to leave." And they were like, "Nope."
Whoa.
So he comes over to me, he's like, "Right, we've got 2 options. You can either just try and suffer it, or I can have them removed. But to have them removed, we have to stop the whole movie for everybody."
Oh wow.
So I was like, I'll just whatever. I don't even know.
Man.
And it just ruined the entire experience for me. That's like one of the last times I can remember actually being willing to go. Because
this was opening night. Holy cats, man. Like, I've never dealt with that on an opening night, at least here in the States. I mean, even, because a lot of people have movie theater etiquette, but holy shit.
Yep. Well, that's my worst experience I think I've ever had.
Oh, I've definitely dealt with it numerous times, John. It's really, it's weird. It's so one, Aaron, I'm very sorry that you had that experience. for Halloween 2018, because I actually just talked about the Alamo Draft House. Mm-hmm. It's kind of the point now where if there's a movie that I really want to see, I'm like, that's a movie I'm seeing at the Alamo Draft House. Midsummer. No, I didn't see Midsummer. I'm sorry. It was the other Ari Aster film, Hereditary. Saw Hereditary. I was like, that's going to be an Alamo Draft House movie. Went and saw it there. Halloween, I was like, I'm only going to see it at the fucking Draft House, and had the best experience, because you want to have a great experience when you go. And however, I remember going to see The fucking Faculty on Christmas Day at a movie theater, and not only were there people being asshats, but there was a fucking fight that broke out in the middle of it. It was a Donnybrook, man. And I love The Faculty, but fuck, you pay money, you're a cinephile like us, you want to go see and enjoy and immerse yourself. Nothing ruins it more than that.
I saw The Faculty in the theater. I saw it a week later on New Year's Day, hungover, and there was nobody in the theater. It was fantastic. So sorry, when you said that, I went, "Oh yeah, I did see that in the theater." There was nobody there. I don't know. Maybe I'm lucky.
I just can't understand why even choose to go to the movies to do that. Like, funny actually, I had not a similar experience, but a strange experience in I can't remember if it was New York or in Florida. I went to see and it's not that long ago, I went to see Hellfest.
Oh yeah,
it came out like 2 or 3 years ago. Mm-hmm. And I'm there with my girlfriend at the time, and this how do I put this? I'm not sure if it was a he or a she.
Okay.
Came in. And I was like, all right, cool. But I could see him or her or whatever, like looking at me. And I was like, I don't know anybody here. So there would be no reason to, it's not like, oh, do I know you? And she comes up and sits beside me. Completely alone. So So I'm now like there's nobody in the theater. There's like maybe 5 people in total.
Oh my God.
So, and like I'm sitting like front and center. So like my girlfriend is on the left, and then she sits down on the right hand side, like directly in the seat beside me. And has like nachos and all this cheese dip shit and all this stuff. And then proceeds to spill that everywhere.
Oh,
and then she just starts having a full blown conversation with me, and I'm like, like, she wasn't necessarily like aggressive or anything like that, but I was just like, what's going on? We're at the movies. I don't know who you are. And she said, oh, where are you from? And oh, you're from Ireland. And oh wow, what age are you? And I'm like, what is happening to me? So then I had to do this really weird like bait and switch. I went to the bathroom and then just stood outside for like 5 minutes and then just hoped that she wouldn't realize. And I came back in pretending I couldn't see where my seat was, so I just sat somewhere different. I just sat down right at the front.
That's a smooth move.
But just bizarre. I was like, why do you just come to the movies and just sit beside a random person and be like, hey, hello? Like,
maybe they're trying to do like that scene in True Romance when Alabama meets up with Clarence in the theater.
Now come on, gentlemen. If it's in Alabama that comes and sits by I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't be freaked out. But you know what? Maybe it's also too because, in a movie theater, we're kind of vulnerable there in public. We're sitting there, we're wanting to be quiet. Our attention is solely focused. So if someone really wanted to irk you or try to get you to notice them, what better place?
That is true. That is true.
I've never had that experience.
I just thought it was quite psychotic. I was like, this is weird.
Right.
It's odd. That's very odd. Yeah. Because I mean, no matter what the scenario, there's barely anyone in the theater. Yeah. Why? Okay. Come on.
Because I remember I actually turned and went, I have a really weird feeling that she's going to sit up here out of everywhere. And that always bothers me when the theater is like empty and like there's like 2 or 3 friends together or a couple or whatever. And I'm like, why would you go and sit directly behind them and put your feet on the back of the seat? Or why would you like just leave them alone?
My theory on that is because they still in the back of their head have this craving to be around people, you know. That's the only thing, because I'm like, dude, like go sit by yourself. We're all here by ourselves. I know exactly what you're talking about, but I think it's just that craving of being around. Because I'll know because I go to the movies by myself. Well, when they're open, by myself all the time, and I'm like, all right, first one in. I got a great seat, and then someone sits in like in front of me, two seats over. I'm like, really? I mean, and I'm like not in the middle. You know, it's just like, why so close? You could have gone anywhere else. But whatever. I think it's just like the craving of being around people, but not being around people. Yeah.
You just kind of don't even realize maybe in a way, and you just sort of veer.
Yeah. Maybe it's like a weird DNA thing. Like, yes, it's safe in numbers. It's safe in groups. Maybe. I don't know.
But Hellfest on its own is kind of like the Disney version of Houses That October Built in McCamey Manor, right? I mean, kind of let's someone saw Houses That October Built and or Hell House LLC, and they were like, you know, hey, let's Disneyfy it. You know, let's make it a mainstream version of those films. I mean, Hellfest was okay. I mean, it wasn't terrible, but it definitely was like a big budget version, kind of sellout version of that kind of thought. I mean, there have been so many movies based on the scare. I mean, in fact, what is it? The Halloween one, Joe Bob had that one. Was it Haunt? Was it called Haunt?
I think it was called The Haunt.
Yeah, which is, not my favorite of that, I guess, subgenre of horror. But yeah, Hellfest, when that came out, it's like, this is the mainstream version of it.
Yeah, and like I wouldn't say I was hyped to see it, but I was like looking forward to see it because I kind of like those pointless slasher movies, whatever. It kind of has a cool mask, and the trailer looks kind of fun. But the one thing that ruined that entire movie for me was the main cast. Like, it just felt like that kind of felt like the Scream TV show a bit.
It did.
Because you had the chick from Scream, and then there was a couple of other guys, and it was like those douchey. Like, I was like, ugh, this is just like, and I know like sometimes they make characters because you want to see how they're going to die or whatever, and it's all about the killer. But like, it was actually to the point where I was like, it's hard to get through the scenes between the kills. I actually can't bear it. It's like really bad acting.
You know, but the thing, I think what I got most out of that is that I kind of wish that there was a Hellfest, like a real. I mean, I know you can go to Universal Halloween Horror Nights or Busch Gardens here in Virginia. King's Dominion is another place here in Virginia. You know, so many of those theme parks do the Halloween thing, but Hellfest seemed like it was pretty. I mean, that'd be a pretty great friggin' place to go, right? I mean.
Support First Class Horror on Patreon for as little as $1. Can't get enough of the horror? Carve yourself a deal from official merchandise only on Teespring. Join us on all social media at First Class Horror. We have such sights to show you.